Welcome back to Archean, episode 11 of Series 1 playthrough. And in this episode, we're going to do a bit of programming and we're going to test it as we code. And as you've seen from the thumbnail, I actually had my quote-unquote submarine make it into the air. While I'm doing some coding, I'm going to go ahead and build up my inventory of various parts and things. And I wander around for some reason and okay, start coding. So so originally in the previous episode, I went ahead and grabbed some the original code from the mining vehicle, put it over here, made some thin it up a little bit, make a couple little minor changes, and now we need to make this thing turn into submarine code. So I added another input from the seat, which is the up down. So up is by default spacebar and left control for down. And I need that, so if I just want to like push it to the bottom, I can just hit control, or bring it to the surface, I can hit spacebar. And then the auto leveling system should kick in, and so if I go up and down, it should also apply that, so we can do that movement while maintaining level aspect of it. Okay, defining the channels for the propellers. Now, long term, these various constants, including helper functions, I should move all these into like a library, or that it just includes. Every time I create a new vehicle, I just include that file, so all this is done. But for now, we'll just do it all manually. And in probably in season 2, when that starts, I'll assume people have watched season 1, so I will optimize it so it's not as boring. So I'll move a lot of the common stuff you see over and over and over into routines, and I'll share those routines out. And series 2 starts if there's a significant, like a big change to the game itself. Something drops and it changes everything around until then I'll restart. But unless that happens, I'll just keep going all the way to, I guess I'll take a shot at going to the moon. I guess it's pretty hard doing it right now in adventure mode. But first, we need to find some gold. So, baby steps. All right, so I peeked in the wiki. I was calling it up down. It's actually in the wiki. It's called down up. So I'm kind of, a little pause was me poking at the wiki, so it was actually down up. So we'll just change these to be consistent. All right, since we're going to track that, we need to grab that input, make a copy of that, and of course, we gotta be careful with copy paste errors. I make those a couple times. So we're not going to really have a break while we're in the water, so I decided to call that level. So for leveling, I'm thinking about 2 methods. One, there'll be a switch. If I turn a switch on, it'll just maintain leveling. But if I'm just kind of zipping around, I just want to level it, I can just hit 4 and force the leveling logic to kick in. And the way I have the inputs and all that, that's still just kind of fleshing that out and see how things are going. So what I'm doing here is that if you're seated, I will bring over the seat input. If you're not seated, I'll set it to 0. And I'm also renaming them at this point to better represent the, I decided to call it user input thrust. So basically, at line 40 to 44, we're sort of getting the raw. Well, see, I break the rule at line 44. I'm inconsistent. So line 44 should say PS aux 4. And then I should remap it later. Okay, well, I'll fix that in the next episode. But the goal here is this code here, if they're seeded, I pull the value and map it to a name that better represent what it actually is, ignoring the boo-boo for PS level. And if you're not seeded, it's 0. And as I said before, that's because if you've got smooth control turned on, you'll still get residual values, even if you're well, I'm not sure if you get out of the seat, does those auto 0, do they still go down? I know if you take your hand off the keyboard, you'll get residual values coming down. Something actually tested. But a few extra lines just to make sure that does happen. Don't want to jump out and have it zipping along and keep on going. Once you get navigation console with lat long, I guess you could have hold position where it'll attempt to maintain the current position. And so if the currents kind of push it around, it'll push itself back and kind of hold it. That'd be kind of a cool piece of code to do. Just have it log into a certain spot in the water. Okay, so then we have a bunch of variables that are actually what we set the props in. So we have variable that represents the prop. Now I'm treating the two pairs in the back as single units, the pairs as single units. So that means we have effectively 6 props we need to control. And what happens initially, we'll set them all to 0. And then based on inputs or other things happening, we'll modify these values. This is so we can do like going up while the auto leveling logic is being applied. So we can do both at the same time. So we take all these inputs, we put them together, and then we zap them out. So first we have the raw variables, set to 0 initially. Then we apply various stuff. Could include output of a PID controller, and then after that, once we apply the various inputs and sensors and whatnot, then go ahead and zap the props with the results of that, and then magic should happen at that point. I'm going to start just with the rear, and go ahead and set those up. And also play around with, so the goal here, I should be able to go forward and backwards using W and S, and I should be able to yaw, turn left and right using A and D. And should be enough. My other experience playing around Submarine, by default these props have enough to sort of push it around on the ground here. And also adding a K factor. So I'll add a K factor for all the different ones. And the reason for that is that if the input is not giving you enough, it's just actually more important for the sensors, but if it's not giving you enough oomph, you can multiply it by K factor, or if it's giving too much oomph, you can reduce it. Now, you gotta be careful here because the thrust range only goes to 1 and the input goes to 1. So if you multiply 1 by 2, you get 2. You put that in there, and I assume it just clamps it. But for things like tilt, you have a very small number, and you may want to have much larger propeller thrust based on a small tilt, and those K values come in handy. And that's effectively in a PID, the P part of the PID. Although we're not applying any error yet. So basically the error is the input from the keyboard. The human is becoming the PID in this case, or the P. The human looks at the error and then applies the keyboard to make the change, and then we apply the K value to the input, which in theory is the error. All right, so let's put all the K values up here. We'll call them configs. And we're going to set all the 1.0 initially, and then we can tweak them if we wish to, or not. You can just hard code numbers directly into code, but then it gets kind of messy. Then you start seeing what you call magic numbers. There's a number like 0.5. You go, what the hell is that for? Okay, so we'll have one for horizontal movement, going forward and back, one for vertical, up and down, the yaw, turn left and right, and then we'll have one we apply to the tilt sensors. That should be all of them. You can always add as many as you want. I mean, anytime you find adding weird numbers in the code that you could change, if you put a number in there constant, you're never going to change it, then it might not really matter too much. Okay, so we take the UI, the thrust factor, your WD, WS, we apply it to the K, and then we add that to the AD control, which is the yaw, and we multiply that K by the yaw K, and then when we are the yaw, we want to rotate. So one is positive, one is negative, and what I do is I think this is right, and then I'll go and if it's wrong in testing, we'll just invert it. But they have to be opposites because we want one side to pull and one side to push. And then after we do all that, the various things in the middle, then we output. And right now we're just messing around with the props in the back. As I said, we're going to treat the two sets, the two pairs as one unit. So we're not going to drive each individual one. You could make the turn a little more efficient by a little more power to the inner versus the outer one versus the inner one. And guess what happened here? Remember that wire I didn't run in that last episode? I think way back when I first got the game, I was looking around with a submarine. I was actually trying to program it while I was in the water. And that was a big mistake. Because it's floating around, moving, flipping, rotating, and so it's hard to really figure out what's going on here. Do a little more, keep that construction going here. Okay, so let's try it again. So we'll sit, and we'll hit K, and we'll take a look. And of course, it's better if it's daylight, but at least the moon's out. Okay, at least both sets going. And what you see that movement? I'm switching between W and S, and there's a kick when I reverse those engines quickly. It really just, look at that thing, just hops on that torque from those props. Now we don't have an anti-rotate logic yet, but yeah, that's probably because I'm hitting it hard. I guess if you do it obviously much more gently, it'd be less of effect, but I'm just ramming it back and forth. The other thing I'm not doing, I'm not playing around with the prop pitch, so maybe what I should do is reverse the prop pitch in that case. And but it's a lot of tweaking. This functions, and we'll go with this for now. Staring at my code, what I'm going to do now. So what I have to support next is I need to support the side props. And oh, I'm doing the turning now. Okay, turn this way. We turn that way. Okay, so turning works. Turning might be a little too much because it really turns it on land with all that drag, so I may have to dampen that down. Put a smaller than 1K value for turning. We'll see how that feels once we're in the water. We can adjust that. Right now, I'm just trying to get the crude directional things working right. So, the left goes left and right goes right, and the basic stuff, the stuff I can test on land, test all that out, and let's do some more instruction here. Kind of look in my backpack and see what I have or not a lot of, and just make more of that stuff. So for the side props is that I'm not really sure which is up, what direction they should be going. What side goes up, what side goes down. And what I'll do is I'll focus on up and down first. So the goal is if I hit up, it should lift off the ground evenly. If it lifts off, like half of it lifts and the other half doesn't, then I know something's off. Or if I hit up and it just sits there, and I hit down and it goes up, then I know I have it inverted. So I'll just kind of like just make a guess, and I'll have up and down be the opposite. And we'll just steal some stuff over here. This will be our vert constant. So we're applying the vert, which is the up and down direction. And we're just going to apply it because it will go negative and positive on its own. So we just have to make sure we set them all. And then we have to go ahead and update propellers. And we'll get to why I hit airborne in a little bit. That was kind of interesting. Okay, so we'll just kind of eyeball this, make sure I get it all right, no typos. Kind of glancing everything. Okay, let's see what happens. And I hit up, and notice that twist when I hit up. So because all the props are spinning in the same direction, if I hit down, they all spin the other way. The whole thing rotates. And I'll address that. So what I'll do is I will reverse the blades on one side. And that's the difference between twist and pitch. I mean, could you do this with pitch or not? I don't know. Whole bunch of experimenting left on my plate. And I figure I'd do this side too, because it's going to have to be, obviously, this is a factor in rotating it. So let's have these counter rotate on the other ones. So when we go forward, we don't induce a roll to the vehicle. Just checking everything. Because I did that, I have to invert directions. So what I'm going to do there, I want the code to the main code not realize I did this. So I'm just going to invert them right when I output them. So forward thrust is always even. If I want to go forward, then all four get applied the same factor, except at the very, very end of it where I do the negative. And this should fix that issue of it's hard to see it here because the problem, we're in a bumpy situation, and so if I try to go forward, we could have a turn because the fact we're not on level surface. Okay, so I'm playing with the engine now. Okay, now I get the props going. So I don't see that twist now, so that's seems to solve that problem. Okay, so the problem is if I crank these things up to full bore, it doesn't move. If I crank up going up or going down, nothing happens. So obviously the props are too small to lift the weight of this vehicle. So let's make the blades bigger. That's a little too big. I figure I make them bigger, that should lift it. I just want to lift it a little bit just to make sure that up is up and down is down, and that all four come up, right? And now you might have a good guess of why I was airborne. And obviously I have no logic built in to maintain a trim level flight, so nothing yet. So basically we're crossing over to, this should be very useful for building an aircraft down the road. All right, so we do this, and I think I hit up first, and nothing happens. Okay. And I hit down, and we lift off, and we flip over. Okay, so I have down and up inverted is one problem, besides the fact that my submarine is inverted. Okay. And the other thing too, you know, as the front comes up, that because the center of gravity is way off, you know, because all the batteries are in the back, so we're back heavy, so that makes sense. In the water, I plan to trim this up by using, you know, put containers in there and put ore in it to help, you know, balance it out a little bit and make it heavy. But right now, I'm just making sure I have things going in the right direction. So here I am playing with the, and now I can hit the opposite and bring it back down again. All right. The reason I put the plus in there is that if I do additional things, I don't care about ordering. I can put them before or after this stuff. But I start with 0, then I just add a bunch of stuff. Now I'm making all these negative because I had the up and down backwards. When I hit up, it went down, and when I hit down, it went up. Now I'm playing with the key that, yeah, I need to definitely, I keep forgetting to look to figure out how, yeah. Well, that's, I put a little more thrust on those back ones, or even the weight out, we would have a VTOL running. So I don't know if the back ones are in the right going. So what I'm trying to figure out, like the front ones are now behaving correctly. The front ones go up and down as expected. The rear ones, I don't know. Maybe they work, maybe it's just too heavy, maybe they don't. I think they're working, but I just want to like confirm it. So I figure if I turn off the front ones and then just go up, then the back ones will be only ones running, and thus just checking the names, make sure I didn't have any typos or whatnot. The names are fine. I'm just making sure that the reason why the back didn't come up, it didn't come up because it's too heavy, but just to make sure it wasn't some typo I had in the code. Now the front's still running. I go, that's weird, the front shouldn't run. And I think because when I made the change, I did not save it. If you don't save it, it won't apply the change. And here we are, flying away. And this is weird. I'm like, and boom. I was trying to get my cursor on the structure so I could invert it while still seating. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I had to finally just get out of the seat, and we'll flip it. This will be a lot more fun when they have vehicle destruction in. I guess you could tune it in creative mode. All right, so I'm like, it should. Why did the front ones work? And I'm pretty sure because I just didn't save it. Look at the code; it shouldn't have worked. The front should not have spun. And what I should do right now, I should just save it and then go ahead and try it again, and that would have behaved as expected. But I'm pretty sure I saved it. Couldn't be me, right? Couldn't be me. And now they're not. I'm just double checking the names, and if I did something, I'm checking everything, but the obvious. Yeah, it's all fine. I just didn't save. And check everything again. Yeah, at some point when I have to go up and get titanium, we'll be building aircraft, and so that should be interesting. I wonder if I'd done that in real life. You just make a code change, you don't actually save the code change. Here I am. Okay, heck well. Now I did save. It's still a little blink, and that it got saved. And now none of them are warning. Okay, that's expected. Yeah, well, we saw the custom BIOS loading blink. And now just the rear are working. Okay, that's expected. So it's just that one little thing. Okay, it's coming up as expected. And then if I invert it, I can push it back down again. And this is where the thumbnail came from when I was airborne. Now I'm going, God, I'm way over here. I mean, there's the base behind me. I can see the base way down there now. So how in the heck did I get way over here? I guess that big flat surface makes it almost like an airplane to some degree. So this motor, now I'm going, oh man, it's going to take forever. When the props are going full bore, they kind of like, they get synchronized, I guess, with the frame rate. That's probably a little too, simulating a little too much. One is read the speed, and if they're synchronizing with the frame rate to slow them up or speed them up, so they never synchronize with the frame rate. That'd be what an interesting piece of code to write. To keep your propellers desynced from the frame rate of the game monitor. All right, so I figure. All right, so I've never made small wheels ever. This is the first time I made small wheels. I figured, well, I'll put some wheels on the bottom of it. Then I can sort of like, motor on over there with just the, the rear propellers. No big deal. And of course, the thing is flat on the ground, so getting a wheel in there is hard. So I figured, okay, this just. And what I should have done, I should have built something off the side. I don't have to go underneath it. I could have gone off the side and then gone down from there. Build two pieces, one coming out from the side and one going down, instead of trying to get underneath this propeller thing. So that was a little too much here. Because your drone cannot go through the ground. You can go through your ship, but not the ground. So I'm kind of like stuck between these two spots, trying to get something in here. Okay. I don't know why I took that off. See, I could have gone, no, not that. Just, yeah, I guess that's fine. All right. Now I can just stick a wheel somewhere in here. Oh, I didn't know the wheels have data ports. I just looked it up in the wiki. So you can do two things with the small wheel. You have a brake function and you have a steer function. So you can steer and brake with it. Now I plan to take these off once I get back to my base. And while I'm spending all that extra time to make sure I get exactly the right position, I don't know. As long as they're there, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to take them off in a minute. Let's keep it look pretty. Figure out how to delete something again. Okay. Now we're going to go back and do the same silly thing. Just trying to get underneath here. Got a little more room now since the front wheel is up. And I probably should not be sitting underneath the vehicle when I dropped it on my head. All right, let's see if we can't go a little faster now. And this brings up a whole nother problem, which we'll see. I'm on wheels with no brakes now. And propellers are not designed, doesn't seem to be for fine-tuned propulsion, at least when using the keyboard. At least we're making better progress. Now I said I could just slid it all the way over, but that would have been a little bit. And I think I'm going to speed up the section where you'll learn that I can't park with the darn. So I sit here and go back and forth. I don't go in the water. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm going, well, this sucks. And because it's rolled, I didn't realize it had a braking function. I could have just set the brakes on them, I guess. Well, then I got cable on. So I figured I'll just lasso it. And then I said, heck with this. I'm close enough, take the wheels off, and then I'll just slide over there. Like, I know how to do it with sliding, has all that extra friction. So all right, we're close enough. We'll just slide the rest of the way in and get in position. All right, so the rest of this video, we're almost to the end here. We had another about 2 minutes. I'm going to slowly get it in position. I'm going to hook up a charging, because I know we use quite a bit of our batteries doing that quick trip. And I'm going to go ahead and get it charging, get it parked, get it charging, and then in there. In the next episode, we'll work on the anti-roll and tilt logic and make sure that worked. Just making sure that things operate in this correct direction. And then once that sort of works, I'll reduce the props back to the original sizes. But having them large does exaggerate the movement, so it makes it a little easier to sort of make sure everything's working the way I expect it to. So here I am, going to drop this in here and go from here. Let's get rid of this. I'll tap off of here, put it over there, and from there we'll get that charging again. Yeah, down 93. Oh, it's not as bad. We didn't really go that long. All right, so we made quite a bit of progress. We got some movement speed. We can go up and down, and we got some of the we balanced out the props a little bit. And now we need to get the leveling logic in, so we don't just go roll around on the water. And then I think I'm going to just take the computer and drop a whole nother computer on there and wire it up to the scanner, and we're ready to go. So until next time, see ya.